All right. So, and of course, I started with so, which I hate doing. Welcome back to New England Next Gen. Today, I'm joined by a fellow friend who shared a powerful thought together yesterday, and we said we live in the information age. Actually, I think you said it, but we live in the information age, yet so many are uninformed. And so that really stuck with me because it raises an important question. If we have more access to information than ever before, why do we still struggle as a generation to be truly informed? And more importantly, what can we do about it? So I kind of went into a few questions. I gave you ahead of time what the questions are, but I believe I started with why do you think so many people in our generation struggle to stay informed, even though we have the information literally at our fingertips? And do you think part of the problem is information overload, like having so much out there that people just tune out?
Right. So I'll start off by introducing myself. Hey, my name is Reggie. Um, I would like to first start off by saying that I'm a Christian, right? So people can understand where it is that I'm coming from on my perspective, and I'm also a conservative. Uh, so to answer those questions, why do I think that our generation is struggling to be informed, even though we have access to everything, right? We have Google, we have AI, we have a plethora of resources to seek information at our fingertips. One of the issues is believing that we already know, right? We're refusing to relearn some of the things that we were taught in school. And even though some of the things that we were taught in school are still valid, there's a lot of information that has come out that has disproven some of the preconceptions that we've had. Um, and part of that issue is social media is our generation's news outlet, right? Like we don't actually go and do any type of like a research or look into things on our own timing. We see something come across our feed and we just kind of like, oh yeah, that this is exactly what I believe. This fits my narrative. This is what I'm gonna go with, instead of like genuinely seeking truth, right? And part of that, right, is if somebody does frame a question, right, if they come from a place of, well, I don't know, right? I had a friend, Johnny, who, when Charlie Kirk passed, he said, I've never watched any of this guy's information, right? But I see a lot of people coming out and saying that he's racist, that he's a fascist, that he's all of these different who what's its. Um, can you please explain to me why you believe this, and please source information? Well, unfortunately, he received a lot of backlash, and it became very apparent that genuine truth seeking is shunned in today's society. It's that you can't move forward with that. You know what I mean? That's
Oh,
not
yeah.
something that you actually, how do I want to put it? That's just not a way to live, right? You're not going to get any type of a progress if you're continuously shutting down anybody that's looking to genuinely seek truth.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's like one of the things like about Charlie Kirk. It like is like some people don't even know who he was, and they just base it off
yeah.
of like what their social media feed is, and they're like, oh, he must be crazy, or he must be like, a lot of people are like, I don't even want to
Hmm.
hear him. I know
Hmm.
somebody that I was a Christian, and he's like, he's like, I'm working on being a pastor, and I really, I believe all these things. And I said, have you heard of Charlie Kirk? And he's like, oh no, I won't listen to him because he tr supports Trump. And I'm like, you haven't even listened to a single word he said because of, you know who he supports. And I'm like, I listened to him and I didn't even know he supported Trump until after I got to know him more because I used to start watching his campus tours early on. But
Hmm.
it's just,
Hmm.
it amazes me how many people are not willing to like listen or even know who he is because their social media outlet is telling them all different kinds of things and they don't even, maybe they just don't want to think for themselves or I don't know, they just want to go with the crowd,
Well,
you know?
yes, I believe that right there is part of it. Is the people that they've learned to trust are kind of pushing that narrative, so they just go with it, even though they haven't looked at it themselves. Like, there's a lot of people that I enjoy, and I have disagreements with, right? Like, I may listen to, I don't know, I'll put a name. Let's say Steven Crowder, right? I don't agree with everything that Steven Crowder says. And he
No.
he himself proclaims himself as a Christian, but he also says that he's a bad example of a Christian, right? And
Yeah.
so you have to take that at the face value. You know what I mean? I don't know where we got along in society where it turned into you have to believe everything that I believe, and if you don't, you're wrong. You're a bad person. You're this or you're that. Um,
I think that's like the biggest thing
and to
about
go
culture
back,
right now is like that's what they think. It's like if you don't agree with me, then we're like you're just like completely evil instead of having, and that's literally like the entire like epitome of the whole problem right now is that they don't nobody wants to listen and
right?
everybody's
I,
just and
I
that
may I
and
might think grape is the best flavor, but you think strawberry is the best flavor. That we don't have to fight over that, right? We just
no,
have
right.
a disagreement on opinion. It's quite simple. But to answer the second part of your question, if I think that there's an information overload, right? If that's part of the problem, I do think that there's an information overload, and there's too many sources trying to write the narrative to fit their agenda before actually getting the facts right. We've seen this happen with a lot of different news stations where they'll say something and then have to retract that and then put out something else, right? If I don't know, maybe people can't remember this far back, but there was a point where when George Bush and Al Gore were running race against each other, I believe it was Fox News, they came out and said Al Gore won the race.
Yeah.
Al Gore did not win the race. Al Gore has never been our president.
No,
Right?
yeah.
This happens a lot where your news media will push something out and it is not accurate. You must verify the facts. Um and see if we had that type of society at that time where people blindly followed the people that they enjoyed, you'd have a lot of individuals who would be on that Gore won, Al Gore won, right? But no, he we
Oop, we're getting disconnected a little bit in signal. Hold on. Maybe. I don't know if
hello.
it's me or you. Yeah, are we still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It said Zoom quit unexpectedly. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I lost you. I was still here, but I lost you for a second, and it was like you were connecting back. All right. So go, you can still go ahead. It'll be fine. It's just
Um,
continuing off what you were saying. It was only for a second, so
right, right.
or maybe not. I'll be sad if this fails. All right. So we had some technical issues, but we are now back. So Reggie, you can go ahead and hit it off where we left off.
Right. So I think we were talking about like the information overload.
Yeah,
Um,
we were.
right. So to reiterate, there's a lot of news sources that are pushing false narratives, whether they're doing so deliberately, which I believe that they are, or they're just also kind of caught up in the storm of misinformation. One thing I would like to share is actually from the Bible in Second Timothy. It talks about men, women, teachers, and the end of days, which I believe that we are in. Specifically, Second Timothy 3:7. It talks about us being ever learning, but never able to come to the knowledge of truth. I think that really speaks to our generation. We're smart, we're connected, but we kind of lack a moral compass to sift through all of the weeds, if you will, right? It leaves us with a lacking, right? We know so much, but then don't know anything at all, actually.
Yeah. I think I said something like that. I can't remember what I said yesterday. It was like we have so much, but we don't understand it all. I was kind of going on like
Right,
understanding,
right.
you can't speak if you don't really understand, but we like to
Hmm.
speak and we don't understand.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So, is there anything else you want to say about that question? No?
No, no,
Okay.
I think I'm all set there.
All right, perfect. So I did like our generation as a collective. I said, if you had to describe our generation as a whole, would you say we're more active, more apathetic, or just divided when it comes to current events? I said, what current issues do you think students should be paying attention to right now? And do you think that young adults actually have influence on these issues, even though most of us aren't even in positions of power? Like, if we think that we can't make a
Right.
difference, like, how can we, I guess?
Yeah. So I think we're kind of pulled in both directions as far as like the activism or apathy. Uh, we are very loud with our activism, um, but we're also deeply apathetic. Especially when the issues get complex or uncomfortable, like the attempt on Trump or Charlie or even families being ripped apart by ICE. I see it on both sides of the line. I see the left being apathetic towards a family that was torn apart, or possibly our president losing his life. But at the same time, I see on the right um, people not caring about the families that have existed here for generations being ripped apart. Um, I
Yeah.
think that that's something that we need to get a little bit more rooted in. The causes that I picked are emotional and kind of trendy, but we can see this in everyday life with a lot of different things. You know what I mean? We drive by the homeless guy who's just trying to get a couple of dollars to get some food, right? And yes, he may use those dollars for undesirable things, right? And that's why you become apathetic because you start to look at people through this negative lens. And I think that's the issue is that we're constantly looking through um this filter of everybody is bad, but not my people. Right? The people that I am with, the people that I hang out with, I talk to, these are the good people. The other side is bad. And
I want to
that's
say
not the case.
one thing is like I feel like too it's more of like if you, when I think about it I think it's like more of like a state of like confidence, like if you're not confident in what you like you're almost it's almost like you're
Hmm.
thrown out into the world, so you're kind of like what's the word I'm trying to think, like insecure on everything because you're like I don't really know, like I'm out in this like for like someone in college, they're a freshman and they're in their dorms, like they just left their parents home and they're like they don't know where they stand yet, they still have to develop
Yep.
that, but now they have all these things going on around them and they're just trying to like I don't know what the word is, but it's like grab at like a safety net of some sort, and it's so that
Yep.
safety net, like you can have that circle of friends, but just be careful. I would say be careful because you could be led down a path that you don't really fully understand yourself until you get there. You don't want to have it be too late also and there's like so many facets to that. But I mean, like I'm
Very
just
well
saying maybe
said.
it's like a lack of confidence and like if you don't have that confidence, it's fine. It does come eventually in time. I mean, it took me a while. but
Yeah. When I
but
was
it's in,
21, my opinions and my viewpoints on the world are vastly different than me at 31, right? And just that 10 years has completely rocked my understanding of what I believed that the world was or how it was designed for me to be able to interact with. Uh,
yeah,
the world truly is your oyster. And
it
when I
really is.
was
Yeah.
younger, I thought that I fell for a lot of the tropes. Being Cape Verdean myself, coming from the black community, I believed that it was impossible for me to get ahead in life. That I was always going to be held down by some sort of in a like an invisible line, right? That there was an invisible bar just pushing me down, and that I couldn't rise above it. But that's not true. Like that's simply not true. Like was a person of color the president? Yes. Was a female person of color also vice president? Yes. Right. There is nothing holding me back from doing anything that I want in this life
Yeah.
whatsoever. Especially in this country, right? We live in the most free and the best country there is on the face of the earth. It's just a fact.
I agree
I
with
don't
that.
know how anybody could argue. I do not know how anybody could argue it. But to get more back on topic with your question, the current events that I think students should be paying attention to, it's not so much about trying to stay up to date, you know what I mean? What's happening, what's trending, what happened in Boston, what happened in Baltimore, what happened in Philadelphia, right? You're going to get what's the term that people use? Lost in the sauce. I think what people need to focus on is freedom of speech, religious liberty, and the structure of the family, right? These aren't political issues. These are uh they're fundamentals of a healthy society, right? And these things are eroding by our choices, right? I see a lot of people deciding to not take men specifically not deciding to take charge in their families and be the leader that they were called to be, right? We all have a particular calling in this life, and unfortunately, I don't see people adhering to that. I was also a victim of that same mentality, believing that I couldn't possibly operate a family in that way, the way that I believe that it should have been. Uh, it's definitely something that people need to focus on.
Yeah, I mean, I know
Um,
that my dad has said in the past, like when we had like that feminist like movement a while back, it kind of like took away like men didn't feel as comfortable in like taking that
mhm,
role because women were just like we wanted so much, and not that I'm against like my own kind, but it's like we kind of took over a little bit. Like women started being more pastors and they started taking over more like
mhm,
leadership roles, and the men kind of just were like, okay, I don't want to, offend maybe, or I'm not sure, but they
yes,
kind of backed
yeah,
off, and then they just like never they just we kind of took over a little bit, but it wasn't all of us. But I feel like maybe
right,
that
right,
became a little bit of the culture. And
hmm
it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know where the in between of like when that happened and between that time I was growing up. So I can't really speak to that, but I know that like it's been brought up to me before that it's kind of like women started taking over a little bit, and we started to get our independence because like we started having like more women's rights and everything.
hmm
And then I don't know, it just kind of fell apart after that.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that because like I was raised with a strong mother for a while, and then I ended up living with my single father for a while. So I kind of got to see both scenarios of that, and I wanted women to feel empowered. So I kind of backed off and was like, no, I'm going to allow this to be as it is. And it's amazing that we have strong women today. I think that it's excellent. And in fact, the Bible is actually full of strong women, right?
Yeah.
It's women should not be put down by any regard. Uh, but there
No,
was
yeah.
there was a shift in which men didn't realize uh that that you could have both, right? Where we're on equal footing. Christ called us to equal callings. It's
Yeah, we are
um
really, what's supposed to be that we're, I can't think of the verse now off the top of my head, but that basically like we are equal. I mean, we're
yes,
under
yes,
the
yeah,
man, the man of the household, that men should be leading, but we are also supposed to be at that
right.
equal level where we're holding each other up together. I don't know, kind of like a bridge.
Well,
But
there's a perfect harmony in which is created. I believe the verse that possibly you were searching for is at the head of child is woman, and at the head of woman is man, and at the head of man is Christ. Right?
yeah, something like, yeah,
There's a perfect order that's meant to be laid out, and that gives us all equality. Right? It's not um, at the head of doesn't mean a reigning over or a dominance. It's just an established order. But you did ask how do young adults have influence even though we're not in leadership positions yet? Well, you
yeah,
don't need a title to have influence, right? You don't need to be Sir Duke of so and so in Wellington or any of these titles that you or you don't have to have 5 million followers on Instagram. You know what I mean? This is not that's inconsistent with what an influencer is. Influence comes from being consistent in your character and in truth, right? If people
yeah,
can believe what it is that you say because you stand on what you say, right? That's how you genuinely gain influence,
yeah.
at least in
I
my
couldn't have said it
opinion.
better. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like if you can make change like it's like that domino effect. It's like if you can just, you know, affect the people around you in your own circle, then those people will affect those people and so forth. So you don't
Hmm
have to be this big like head honcho of anything or any organization to make a difference. You can just start with your own like, community that you have at home.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It does start with the people around you, and uh, the more that you're able to share things in truth, right, and lead people to that truth. So what a lot of people I think that we got a disconnect of people calling my truth, right? There's no such thing as my truth. It's the
Yeah.
truth, right? If you're trying to put your my on it, that means that you have a personal spin and you're withholding actual information or actual
Yeah.
truth. You're being deceitful. You're a liar. Honestly,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as my truth. It's the truth.
Yeah. I know we actually kind of hit on it a little bit, but my next questions, were how do you think our generation can make our country better? Which we kind of touched on that a little bit. I mean, if you want to
Hmm.
go
Hmm.
off a little bit more, you can. My other two questions on this section was, what about the world? What role do you see us playing in shaping the future? If you had to challenge our generation to take one action this week to be more informed and impactful, what would that challenge be?
Okay. So let's start from the top. How do I think that our generation can make our country better? We need to return to values. Like we did touch on this earlier. Objective truth, personal responsibility, and faith in God. If our generation wants to change the country, we need to strengthen the families, respect authority, and stop outsourcing our beliefs to what is popular in the moment. Right? Like
Yeah.
following influencers just because you believe that that's what's right in the moment. We've seen something similar happen to what's her name? Emma Watson. She had some beef with J.K. Rowling, but now that things have shifted in the temperature, she actually tried to retract and say, "No, I've never had a problem with J.K. Rowling." But we can backtrack. All these things are available on the internet, and people have lost how do we want to say it? She has lost influence. She has lost her credibility with her fan base because she has, well, you're flip-floppy. It's what happened with Hillary. She had a lot of traction, but then people started to realize, it's flip-flop, right? You can't go both sides, right?
Yeah.
You either believe what you believe, and if you do change your mind, publicly state what has happened, right? I was wrong. That's not hard to say, nor is it wrong to say. Right? If you have believed something and then you find out the truth, admit it. It's okay. Right? That's part of growing up. It is the growth of a person. Even though you're already an adult, you're
I think your mic cut out. I'm like, oh. It's all right. We will not be silenced, right? No.
yeah. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. But
I do
just so you
not
know,
understand.
we have 8 minutes on this meeting before it stops recording. So just not that we're rushed, but we are a little bit. Um, but
Right.
just
So what I was saying is I default back to my original point about what how do I think that we can make the world better? We make our country better. We are on the world stage. We are the focal point of the world. Everybody looks at America to see what America is doing. They watch our movies. They listen to our music. If we want to make the world better, we make our country better.
yeah. Um, yeah. So what
Uh,
would you challenge? Like, but we can skip. Like, I mean, we're already about the world. We just said that. But the last thing is like, if you had to challenge our generation to take one action this week, what would it be so that you could be more informed and impactful?
right, right. I would say do the research. If you don't know something, find out. Watch the full interview. Stop being misled by 10-second clips.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to question your own beliefs and cite your sources. If you do make a proclamation of some sort of a truth, right? Show how that's true. Um, Choose truth over comfort. Read books more than you scroll. Talk to people who disagree with you and know why you believe what you believe. Don't just inherit opinions from others, right? Truly believe what it is that you believe. And if you do, you should be able to cite those sources.
Yeah, I feel like when I tell people, even me, when I'm like researching things, like I can't just make a statement without knowing, like, okay, let me like research that. Like I've been trying to find, like I said it yesterday in my other episode, it was like, I'm trying to figure out, like, trying to make a podcast on, like, what's going on with, immigration and everything.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
trying to look up, like, what are the like what is the impact of having illegal immigrants and the influx we had in, they said, people will say during the Biden administration we had so many in and it's hurting our
Right,
country.
right,
And I was like, I need to research like how and where's the sources. And then I really like there's so much information that you can't just like pinpoint it in like 2 seconds. It's gonna take me
right,
probably
right.
like a week to figure it out. So when it comes to like things that we research, we can't just say, argue that we're right, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That even if after we
Hmm,
research,
hmm.
we can say, hey, like I could be wrong, but this is what I found out, and we can always try to, figure out some truths. But yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Ever be seeking for the truth. Never cease.
yeah. And then I'll open it up to you. I wanted to give you any space. We have about 5 minutes, but are there any issues on your mind right now where you think that students or even our country should be paying more attention to? We kind of touched on it a little bit, but if there's anything extra that you want to say, that's the floor is yours.
Um, I want people to really pay attention to the fact that the world is confused right now, but God isn't, right? We have record numbers of young adults and teenagers joining churches all across America and abroad. This is the only way to get back on track. John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. None shall come to the Father except through me. Um, be genuine truth seekers. This is it's imperative. Um, if you are not a truth seeker, like it says in John 8:44, you belong to your father, the devil. You want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar, the father of lies. Right? Seek truth above all things. Right? And you, like the Bible also says, if you knock, it shall be open to you. If you seek, you will find it. Right.
Yeah,
This is what is imperative to our youth. Um, Stop just being blindly led down any corridor of lies. I know that they sound nice and they fit the way that you feel on the inside, but the heart is foolish and wicked above all things. There's no cure for it. Who can possibly find one? Right? I know that I may sound like I'm rambling in some regard, but
no,
it
what
is
you're saying, you're saying
very,
the right
very
thing.
important. It is very, very important. I know some people may feel that way, like that. Well, I repeat these verses. These are all verses that speak on the same topic, right? You cannot just be foolish and follow your emotions. I know how it feels, but you must seek genuine truth and facts. Cite your
Absolutely.
sources.
Oh yeah. Like in school, right? No.
Yes, cite your
Oh my
sources.
gosh. So funny. All right, so I'm gonna close out. So thank you again for being here and sharing your perspective. I said,
Yep.
I think this
Thank you for having me.
conversation, yeah, right. Well, it took a lot of work to get this done.
It did.
We were shut down like twice. No. But I think this conversation shows that even in the middle of the information age, when it feels like we have everything at our fingertips, it's still on us to actually like seek out the truth, think for ourselves, and use what we know
Hmm.
to make a difference. So here's my challenge to everyone, listening. Don't just scroll, learn, like he said. Don't just consume, you got to act, and don't just talk, contribute. So if each of us makes the choice to be a little bit more informed, a little bit more thoughtful, and a little more active in our communities and well, all in all, it'll affect the country regardless if you're not, like we said, a big head of anything. Then together, we'll make our generation one that truly changes the world. So that's like a inspirational thing for the day. This has
Amen.
been, New England Next Gen, and I thank you for listening. And it's like go out there and make a difference, right? And
Yes.
thanks again, Reggie, for joining me. All right.
Thank you.
Again, thanks.